Yuji and Higuruma are taking on Sukuna right now, and we actually got to see a glimpse of Yuji's new powers, his new technique, with it being foreshadowed that he may actually have blood manipulation as well. Of course, learning more about Higuruma's own curse technique, and of course, Sukuna actually being trapped by Higuruma's domain expansion. He is on stand, and Sukuna is being prosecuted for all the people he killed in Shibuya, with him being completely helpless in the domain, and all Sukuna can do is smile against the allegation. And we also got flashbacks as well, and seeing all the characters plan everything out. What a phenomenal chapter. I just gotta say, it was just absolutely amazing. Trust me, you're definitely gonna want to stick around all the way for this video, especially when we talk about all of Yuji's new ability. Chapter actually starts off with Yuji and Higuruma looking down upon Sukuna, and it actually enters a flashback. Now, in this flashback, there is quite a lot of text. It is very text heavy, and I'll be including all the translations on the screen as well, but I will be basically going over it in a summary very quickly. There's an extremely hilarious moment between Kashimo and Hakari and everyone else, where Kashimo is upset that people actually think that he will lose. Everyone's like, oh, Kashimo's gonna go out and die first, and of course we know how that ended for Kashimo. It is very sad to see that. Quite a lot of funny moments with Miwa as well, where Miwa constantly mocks Kusakabe, and it is confirmed that Miwa did actually use a binding vow during Shibuya to swing a katana one more time. So because of that binding vow, Miwa can actually not pick up a katana again. It is pretty insane to consider that Miwa actually used a binding vow, and not only did it do no damage, but Kenjaku stopped it barehanded. It really shows you the difference between characters of Miwa's level, which is a shame to say. I love Miwa, and of course special grade levels such as Kenjaku. And it seems like they planned this from the beginning. They did plan for Kenjaku to actually be stalled by Takaba. They did plan that maybe Gojo will die, and they even said that in the case that Takaba stalls out Kenjaku, then of course Yuta can come in, swing him, and just chop his head off, and he actually predicted it all from the beginning. This planning was incredible. And now here's something very interesting. We see Kamo actually say, oh, I don't want to fight, I want to take care of my family, we're probably going to go overseas, which makes sense. I don't blame him because of everything that was said with Maki as well, how Maki told him, go live your life, go see your mother, so it makes sense why he would actually want to protect her and stay with her. But what's very interesting, and I don't want to say this is confirmed, it is just implied, and perhaps when we get other translations such as the Viz and also TCB, we will get more details on this, but it seems to be implied with this translation that Yuji does actually have blood manipulation. The reason this is the case is because Yuji says, I've got a lot of help from my senpai, in this case it's Kamo, for teaching me many things, because Choso is bad at teaching. Now, what is the thing that only Choso and Kamo can teach people? It's blood manipulation. I think it's too much of a coincidence that specifically Kamo and Choso who are teaching Yuji, and Yuji also ate the death painting, so possibly Yuji actually does have blood manipulation. Again, it's just a theory based off of text alone. We don't see him use blood manipulation, so maybe he doesn't, but I do want to say it really could be possible. Look out for other translations when they do come out. Yuji may be cracked, because we see other techniques that aren't even blood manipulation in this chapter when he fights Sukuna. Now, to briefly summarize a whole wall of text, and I truly mean an incredible amount of depth of text, pretty much the summary is that they want to charge Sukuna with a crime. The issue comes with the fact that Sukuna has committed so many crimes. Now, you might be wondering, isn't that a good thing? You have so many things to charge him for. The issue is that Judge Man randomly selects one of the crimes to actually prosecute Sukuna with. Now, why is this a problem? The issue is let's say it charges him for something that's not too crazy. Let's say it's just Sukuna destroying a bunch of buildings, or Sukuna just tearing cloth. Yes, even stuff like that can actually be charged. Because these aren't as crazy as Sukuna just mass slaughtering thousands of innocent civilians, Sukuna won't be charged with the death penalty. Because to be charged with the death penalty, as it was said by Higuruma in this chapter, you need to kill at least 3 or more people to be charged with that. 2 maybe, but 3 is pretty much guaranteed. And if Sukuna just gets charged with something that's not that, for example, like when Yuji actually died during the detention center, that might not even count as a Yuji death, it might just count as attempted in quotes, because Yuji did come back alive. And there's just a whole plethora of crimes, such as him trying to kill Gojo, or him actually taking Megami's body, or him attempting to kill Megami. And it seems like the crimes from the Heian era, probably, they actually are assuming it won't count either. So it's very tough because it's double chance based. Not only are they banking on the Judge Man randomly selecting the perfect crime for Sukuna to be charged with, specifically to be charged with the death penalty, because that's what they need to kill Sukuna, since it seems like, yes, the execution sword will kill him in one shot, but on top of randomly getting a crime that Sukuna can be charged for the death penalty, they also need Sukuna to actually lose the court case as well. Sukuna's a pretty smart guy, so maybe he actually can. There's a lot more depth to it, and if you are curious, you can actually read the text that I put on the screen, but I've pretty much summarized it all, and mainly the important bits that you need to know. And then we instantly come back to the modern times, where it's not a flashback anymore, and we see Mei fires a whole bunch of crow strikes at Sukuna, and these are the ones that Naruto actually said that no one had actually survived other than Gojo. And Sukuna basically just vaporizes them with the Kamutoki, also known as the Vajra, instantly. And maybe actually says, Gojo-kun, Kenjaku, Sukuna, I knew that the crows would actually be defeated by people of that level, but she threw it in for a distraction just to help out Higuruma and Yuji. As we see in the next page, Higuruma goes for a massive gravel strike on Sukuna, which he dodges. And now here's the interesting thing. Yuji goes in for 2 punches, and Higuruma actually holds the Kamutoki with his hammer. I guess he can do that to make sure Sukuna can't actually block it or move away. So what Sukuna does instead is with free hands, he actually blocks Yuji's strike. Now this should be pretty simple. It's just a punch from Yuji, he can block it. it, right? Well, it's not. Sukuna actually vibrates. We see him physically vibrate and shake, though it doesn't seem like he bleeds at all because he does block with 3 hands. But Sukuna has an exclamation mark and a question mark, and then Sukuna says, "That was," and then guess. So clearly something happened that actually did shock Sukuna, and something that for some reason resonated with him. I don't know what exactly happened. Now if you actually in my live stream, a lot of people were actually saying that, oh, this is soul manipulation. They actually hit Sukuna's soul, which is why Sukuna actually shook his soul shook. Which would also make sense since he did switch souls with Kusakabe too, so he may actually have soul powers. It may be a death painting power, we aren't completely sure yet, and maybe it's this death painting curse technique that's hitting him. I saw some people saying, oh, it's double impact. It can't be double impact. The reason I say that is Sukuna knows what double impact is. He has all of Yuji's memories. He was in Yuji's body as Yuji was spamming double impact. Every time he's ever done it, he was in Yuji's body. So Sukuna wouldn't be that shocked and then also confused because there's a lot of question marks when he actually gets hit by it. And then of course in the next page, Higuruma casts Domain Expansion, Deadly Sentencing, and is a beautiful page by the way, where the domain forms around Sukuna. So why Sukuna isn't just expanding his own domain to beat Higuruma's, there's 2 reasons. First reason, which is the most likely I would say, is because Sukuna's brain is probably still damaged even after incarnating. So even after his body was incarnated and he healed up everything, maybe that specific part of his brain isn't still healed from the Gojo fight. The second possibility, which is unlikely, but it's a theory I wanted to throw out there, is that because it's implied that Higuruma is just like Hakari, how they both start off with a domain, it's possible that innately, just like how Hakari's domain is immune to domain tug-of-wars and domain clashes, which was actually said in the Japanese, and if you didn't know that, don't worry. For some reason, both TCB and Viz didn't include that translation. I triple-checked with 2 translators, it was actually said in the Japanese itself. It was never said for Higuruma's own domain, but it's possible that this could be the case for Higuruma's domain, since he's a very similar case to Kinji Hakari as well. So maybe even if Sukuna could expand his domain, it just wouldn't work because Higuruma's domain would be strong against it or immune against it. But again, that's really unlikely. It probably is just the first option where Sukuna just can't because of his fight with Gojo. And now here is where it actually gets super crazy. Yuji and Higuruma come up with this genius plan where they can't actually straight up prosecute Sukuna for a specific crime. Again, as I've explained before, it's really randomized, but they can demand a retrial for something that was actually charged before, specifically what Yuji was charged for the murders of everyone in Shibuya. So the plan is they actually cast a 3rd retrial for all the murders of Shibuya, and Higuruma says he didn't do the murder, referring to Yuji. The confession he made from the second trial was false, which came from his responsibility. The true criminal is, and the editor says, will it turn the table? The battle on Court of Death opens, and Sukuna has a menacing smile as he looks, as he knows he's the true one who actually made that crime. And it seems even Sukuna can't just fight, so obviously he's aware of all the rules since he was in Yuji's body when Yuji actually fought Higuruma. So it's not like Sukuna is so godlike that he can just resist the rules of a domain, and he's actually just playing along with it as he's got his arms folded and he's just there. And it seems Yuji is a witness, or at least he's a part of the trial as well. Probably not a witness, as it's a 3-way trial. What an incredible chapter, I can't lie. It was simply phenomenal, especially seeing Yuji in action. I really would love to talk about that. What is going on with Yuji? Is it a death painting technique that he just used? Is it soul manipulation, which really could be the case since he seems to have actually shook Sukuna, which is incredible. It's Ryoma Sukuna who he shook. Or is it actually just the curse technique of the weapons that he's got? That's probably the most boring answer. It's not impossible that it could be it. And again, it was foreshadowed, and I could be going crazy about this because again, we don't have TCB or Viz translations, so when we get those translations, we'll know for certain. So for now, take it with a grain of salt, but it was sort of foreshadowed and implied with the current translations that Yuji may actually have blood manipulation, which if he does, would be absolutely insane, and I cannot wait for him to see it and use it in action. It would be absolutely crazy. And again, I love seeing Kashimo again. He made so many faces. It was great seeing all the interactions, especially between Hakari and Kashimo, Kamo with everyone, Yuji and Higuruma, and of course Miwa and Kusakabe. I really love these slice of life moments where they're just talking, they're interacting, we're getting to see all the characters, you know, be themselves and talk to each other. It really is just like how many people, myself included, predicted. We'd probably flash back to how they were planning to beat Sukuna and everyone later on while the fights were happening. And of course, we didn't get anything on the Yuta versus Kenjaku part either. So whatever's going on there, you know, whether Kenjaku will open his domain and take someone's body of his domain, or whatever's gonna happen there, we don't know for sure. Or maybe Kenjaku's truly dead. We don't actually know, right? I guess we'll find out when we come back to that.